I want to pick back up with verses 1 through 4 again. We talked about them yesterday or at our last time together, and I want to talk about them again because there's a lot more depth there, and I don't want to skim over that. So let's read verses 1 through 4 again. If you didn't watch the last mini message, love for you to go back and watch that. So I'm going to put everything in context for you. It says, so Jacob set out for Egypt with all his possessions, and when he came to Beersheba, he offered sacrifice to the God of his father Isaac. During the night, God spoke to him in a vision. Jacob, Jacob, he called. Here I am, Jacob replied. I am God, the God of your father, the voice said. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for there I will make your family into a great nation. I will go with you down to Egypt or bring you back again. You will die in Egypt, but Joseph will be with you to close your eyes. So we really talked about verses 1 and 2. Really just mostly verse 1 yesterday, in that he offered the sacrifices, where Beersheba was, what the importance that place was. It was the end of the promised land. It was the southernmost tip. So when you can continue on, God spoke to him. He was given a vision. So this is 40 years after when Jacob was about to leave the promised land, and God spoke to him a dream then, back in chapter 28, when he was headed out to go to his uncle Laban. So 40 years later, once again, he's leaving the promised land. And once again, he's struggling. And once again, God's going to say, it's okay. I'm with you. I've got a plan. And he tells him, he says, do not be afraid to go down to Egypt. Well, it tells you something. Jacob was afraid to go to Egypt. God doesn't say, do not be afraid when you're brave and courageous. God tells you don't be afraid when you're afraid, when he's trying to help you build your confidence in him, when he's saying put your faith, put your hope, put your trust in me. So he says don't be afraid to go down to Egypt. See, Jacob knew that God had told Abraham back in Genesis chapter 15 that his descendants will be strangers in a land that is not theirs and will serve them, and they will be afflicted for 400 years. So Jacob's wondering, am I leading my family into affliction? And he was. He was. This was the beginning of what God, the prophecy God had told Abraham coming true. But God came back to him, and God says, but I'm going to make your family into a great nation. And this is where it's going to happen. It's going to happen in Egypt, specifically in the land of Goshen, which we'll talk about later. And then he tells him, I send you there, I'll bring you back. And not him literally himself, but that he would bring the family back alive and intact. The nation that would come over that 400-year period, when they would go from being a family of 12 sons and daughters to a nation, an entire group, a people group, numbering 1 million or more. So he's giving him this. And so he even at the end gives him a little more peace, telling him, Joseph will be with you. When you pass from this world, Joseph will be there to watch you close your eyes. It's a nice little touch by God to tell Jacob that somebody that he loved and cared about so much, he'd be reunited with him, and he'd be reunited with him for the rest of his life. It's a good thing to be in the presence of family and to have the comfort from God knowing you were in his will. So God soothed Jacob, put him in a good place as he sent him off to see his son Joseph. And they'll meet tomorrow.